Shalom Aleichem Rabbi Isai. Last week we left off in the Rosh. So the first third of the Rosh explains that the Gazlan is kind of the para as well as the Vlad, and he pays back the value of a pregnant cow to the Nigzal. So we had a number of kashas on that. So Hein Mitzad Hasvara. How we had the svara of the Nimuki Yosef Rashi, that what's the difference, fat cow, skinny cow, pregnant cow, gave birth, ate a meal, went to the bathroom, it's still the same cow. It's still, you can recognize by the stamp on the ear, still the same cow. So, how could it be that there is a shinoi in the guf of the para that would enable the gazlan to be kaineh? Okay. And then hein mitzad lashon, the Mishnah says misham dmei para medes liyoled. If we said if he's kaineh the para itself, if he's kaineh the para itself, it should go all the way back to shas kazela. So then why did the Mishnah say Misham Dmei Para Medes Liyoled versus saying Misham Kshas Gzela, just like the third case of the Mishnah? Okay, so where the rush really gets started here, and we went over this last week, is Umiu Beres V'Yalda Tu'una V'Gazaza Lo Mikre Shina Hagozel. So what's Rashi's real taina with the taina of Hatalas Glalim is that Rashi's real taina is that the shinoi that happens in the para is chayzeres, meaning even though the cow was pregnant and now is not, but a pregnant cow isn't a mashu. It's a cow that happens to be pregnant. So the fact that it can become pregnant again makes any shinui that happens to the cow in the Leda, its only effect happens on the Vlad, because the cow can go back and get pregnant again. So the Rush is going to deal with this as follows. So he says, it's not called a shinoi chayzer. Afal pi shechayzeres u'mesaberes v'chayzeres v'nitanes mishum deloi mikre shinoi chayzer ela k'shechayzer adavar lekadmuso bli toisefes v'girua. So, what is a shinoi chayzer, says the Rosh? Shinoi chayzer is when something goes back to its original state without any additions or subtractions. So that's what's called a shinoi chayzer. So the Rosh gives a couple examples. What does he mean by that? V'chein afra v'avdinu livni. Somebody takes dirt and makes a brick out of it. Ki hadar mashi le'afra, if he destroys the brick, chazar afra lekadmuso. It's still dirt. It's still the same dirt that it was made out of. Aval para mu beres v'yolda rachel tu'una v'gazaza im tachzer v'tisaber v'sisan giza loy mikre shinoi chayzer ki ha'uber v'hagiza yeshnan ba'olam v'uber acher nisabra v'nitana giza acheres. So it says the Rosh a couple of steps here. So he says that why is this not called the shinoi chayzer? Because the Uber and the Giza were already in existence at the time that it was stolen. Uber acher nisabra v'nitana giza acheres. And this, if it would become pregnant again or grow Giza again, this is another Giza. So we have to understand really what that means. Like, what is the Tosefes and the Gerua in the Para? What is Chaser, or is for sure not anything additional, but what is Chaser in the Para in this situation that it gave birth? And what is the significance of, because the Vlad and the wool are in existence, that effectuates a change in the para itself. Like, what difference does that make? So, says the Rush like this. Okay, let's see weiter. Va'adif tfei mizuzi v'avdinu נסכא. So we saw in the Mar Makaimis back in the Gemara. The Gemara brings a case of Zuzi v'avdinu נסכא. D'loi mikre shinoi hachozer af agav de'efshar lemehadar lemeavdinhu zuze bli girua v'toisefes. So what's the case of not a Zuzi v'avdinu נסכא? Guy takes a coin, melts it down, and makes it a faceless token, I believe they're called. Or even if it has a face on it, that face has no value because it's not a valid currency. So, in that case, the Gemara says that it's kaina. And the Rosh is trying to explain why. What's going on here? A guy takes a coin, he melts it down into a token, but he can also heat it up again or melt it down again and make it the same coin. Says the Rosh, if even in that situation it's kaina. And the Gemara over there says the reason for that is mishum depanim chadashos bo'ulukan. There's a new, it's a new tzura, it's a new face. Okay? Okay, so says the Rosh here, Kol shekain hacha shenis abra legamre uber acher v'nitana giza acheres. All the more so over here, where this is a different uber and a different giza, delay mikre shino echayzer. It's not called shino echayzer. Okay, so l'chayra al pnei advarim divrei harash are miras nigra. The Rosh is being medame zuzi v'avdinu נסכא. A guy takes a coin that has a value to it, a currency that has a value to it, and he makes it into a token that's worthless. Okay, it might have some metal value or metallic value, but to use it as a currency, it's not a currency. It's not a coin. So the Gemara says over there, the svara is mishum depanim chadashos ba'ulukan. It's a nayazach. It's a completely different thing. Nobody would come upon this coin or this token and say, "Oh, that was the coin I saw you with yesterday." It would never happen. That's how I understand, or at least how we're going to understand panim chadashos ba'ulukan. Okay. At this point in time. So the Rosh is making a kol shekain out of a case like that to a case where the para, there is no recognizable difference in the para whatsoever. Except maybe an appearance of weight. If I walked in a cow farm, I wouldn't be able to say, hey, that cow is pregnant and this cow is not. Okay? So So we have to understand what is this kol shekain that the Rush is bringing here. What is the significance? What is the significance of Zuzi v'avdinu נסכא, the connection of Zuzi v'avdinu נסכא to the case of Paramenbagus? So, in order to explain the Rush here, we're going to have to go back to a couple key points, okay? So the Rush says a couple of rules about shinui here that we just went over. He says, "Mishum delay mikra shinui chayzer elo k'shechayzer adavar lekadmuso bli tosefes v'gira." The first rule of calling something a shinui she'eno chozer, and therefore it's kona midiraisa, is that it does not go back to its original state exactly as it was. It goes back a little bit less or a little bit more. The Rush is also medama the case of Zuzi v'avdinu נסכא to para me'uberes. But he adds a point here, and the way he does it is, if you look, Ki ha'ubar v'hagiza yeshnan ba'olam. The fetus and the giza exist in the world. V'ubar acher nisabra v'nitana giza acheres. And when this cow becomes pregnant again, that will be different. So there's a connection between these two things. Because the Giza and the Vlad are Yeshnan Ba'olam, because they exist, therefore, I know that, Uber Acher Nisabra. So, because I know that the Vlad and the Giza are in existence, therefore I know that this is an Uber Acher. Okay? So you have to understand that connection a little bit. So, what does Yeshnan Ba'olam really, give me in the case of Shinui? Yeshnan Ba'olam is a way of Hakara, is a derech Hakara. I can recognize that something happened here because this is now here and it wasn't here before. According to the Rush, when you mix that scenario with a physical change or a loss in potential, that's what makes a shinui. I have a physical change in the para because this uber is no longer mechuberes or mechuber to the para. I can recognize that change by the fact that the Vlad is in existence. And kol od that the Vlad is in existence, I can say that's not the same para. Even if it's pregnant, even if I return this cow pregnant again. Let's say the Gazlan took the cow and got it pregnant, and he gives it back to the Baila. But because this Vlad is in existence, I have a akara of a physical change in the guf of the par. Says the Rush, in such a situation, that is called a shinui. That is koina. It's a mixture of physical change and hakara. Versus what we said in Rashi, the two are not interdependent. The two are independent of each other. Dahainu. According to Rashi, you need either hakara miyuchedes b'guf, in the guf of the chayfetz, meaning I can say that this object is unique from that which it was, or you need a recognizable change in the physical status of the object. But really boils down to a hakara that the actual object itself changed. A hakara tzadit, or on the side, according to Rashi, the fact that I can see this Vlad is only an indication of a change from an Uber to a Vlad. It's not an indication of any change in the animal. Really, according to Rashi, the physical change in the animal, that it was pregnant and now is no longer pregnant, is inconsequential because there's no hakara standing out to you. There's nothing saying something's different here about the animal itself. Versus the Rosh, any change in a physical object that can be referenced is a Shiur. So for the Rosh, the element or the emphasis is on the physical change. Yes, I do need a hakara in order to enact that as a shinui that is koine. But the ikar is that there was a physical change in the object. The object is no longer as it was, and even if it were to become pregnant again or grow wool again, giza again, I know that giza and that uber is not the same one. Because of that, therefore, the Shiur is kind of in the part. Versus Rashi, the emphasis is strictly on the hakara. There could be physical changes from here to Shemayim, but if they're not recognizable, if there's nothing standing out to me saying that this is different, it's garnished. It's nothing. Okay. So we have a working mahalach in the Rush now as to how he understands the inyan of shinui. The inyan of shinui is when the object cannot be returned in the exact physical state that it was when it was stolen, and that can be referenced in any manner as long as it is known or can be pointed to as a reference going back to the cow that this change happened. That is enough to effectuate the kinyan. And that's what the Rush means. Mishum delay mikre shina echayzer ele kishechayzer adavar lekadmusa bli toisefes v'girua. It has to go back exactly the way it was, without any less or more. And kol od that anyone could come along and say that it is less or more than it was when I was stolen, that effectuates the kinyan on the Eitzim object itself. Okay. So says the Rush. So says the Rush here. Now let's go go over zuzi v'avdinu נסכא. ועדיף תפי מזוזי ועבדינו נסכא, דלוי מקרי שינוי החוזר אף אגב דאפשר למהדר למעבדינו זוזי, בלי גירוע ותוספת, משום דפנים חדשות באו לכאן. כל שכן היכא שנסעבר לגמרי עובר אחר, וניתן גיזה אחרת, דלוי מקרי שינוי החוזר. In the case of the coin, there's no possible way you could come across to me if you remade this into the same coin that it was, that it's any different than it was a month ago when it was a token. You wouldn't be able to recognize it. And there's nothing less about it. Kol shekain hacha. All the more so here, where there's a point of reference to the fact that this object is different. It's as if here you took a chip off the coin when you made it back into a currency again. That's what the Rosh said. Okay. וגם נראה אף אגב דכאמר דמי פרה עמדס לילד ודמי רחל תאונו עמדס לגזז דמשמע דשמן הפרה כמה הייסה שווה רגע אחד קודם ללידסה והרחל סמך לגזזה. Says the Rashi's exact kasha. It's mashma from the Mishnah that tuno imedes legazes to shaman apara kamasha isa shavarega echad kaidam deleda. V'achi havi mistaber shari gazla muberes v'tuuna vein kan shinoy ela leda v'agiza. The only change here happened at the time of the leda and the giza. So it's mistaber that you would only pay rega echad before the leda or the shearing. Va'ad shasa shinoy hayo b'rishus hanigzal b'rishus hanigzal hishpicha. If the Bailam had come back and taken their cow back before the leda, rega echad before the leda, the gazlan wouldn't have been kaina. Vidamya lahada amaraba haiman de gazal chavisa de chamra mechavre meikara shavia zuza v'libsaif shavia arba taver shasi mishalim dalid mishum de bereshus hanigzal hiכא. And you would make a sushtel here. You would say that since the actual change doesn't happen until the Leda or the Giza, that's comparable to the case of Rabbah. Rabbah, if you remember from last week's share, Rabbah mentioned a case. Let's say a guy steals a pitcher of wine, breaks it, or he drinks it. Right? It's destroyed. It's no longer here. So he can't return it. Right? So Rabbah says, let's say that wine was worth 1 zuz when he stole it, and it's worth 4 zuz now, the day that he drank it. So he has to pay 4 zuz. Why? The bereshus hanigzal hiכא. Okay? So we'd make a comparison just like Rashi did. If you remember Rashi back on Samachayim and Beis, made a dimyon, was medame, the case of Rabbah chavis chamra to Hagozel to levinas ayil. Okay? Mihu, says the Rosh, Einoi mishalim ela kamoy shahay yeshavim b'shas gzela. You only pay what the parah was worth at the time that he took it. The kol heicha de kana guf hagazela b'shinoi. The eina mechayev l'shalim eladamim. Chazra hashuma l'shas hagazela. Says the Rosh and Einfeld. Even though the Mishnah says Misham Dmei Para Medes Liyaled Vahachi Havi Mistaber, that is the correct. That would make a lot of sense. Says the Rosh, no, Lav Dafka. It goes back all the way to the Gazela, just like we said, just like we asked the Kasha earlier. How come it doesn't go all the way back to Gazela? Says the Rosh, it does go back to Gazela. V'achi kail b'seifa zeh klal kol hagazlan misham k'shas gzela. Tekaya kulu babe demasnisin. Tekulu shavin la'inye zeh she'tehei shuma k'shas hagzela. All cases in our Mishnah, that's what it means. Zeh klal kol hagazlan misham k'shas gzela. Kol. All the cases that we've mentioned up until now, they all go on the shas gzela. And so we're very much left at this point with what is the rush? Why would the Tana say Misham Demei Para Medes Liyaled if it goes back to Shas Gazela? So we're going to deal with that. Says the Rosh weiter. Va'afagav demoitzia anigzal min hagazlan koydem leida v'gziza hayanoitel bein masa kamoshehi debrishuse eshbach v'lei shtanis biyad hagazlan. Even though you'll tell me that the bottom can come back and take the cow, so what's the difference between that case and the case of the wine? Hashamia de yolda v'gazza v'nishtanish ha'gzela mishalim k'shas ha'gzela v'chol ha'shevach she'ishbiach mishas ha'gzela v'ilach havei shel ha'gazla. V'loi dami l'taver shasya the hasam ivda min ha'olam de be'oisa shah nasa gazla. Says the Rosh like this. Now that the cow has given birth and the sheep has been sheared, and the gazela has been changed, lishitaso, you pay kshas gazela, and all the shevach mekan ve'ilach belongs to gans. And it's not comparable to Taver Shasya. Why? The Hasam Ivda min ha'olam de be'oisa shah nasa gazlan. Aval heichא dehagzela ba'olam ela shenishtanis וקנאה also shinoi mishalim kishas hagazela. So the Rosh is mechalik here between Taver and Shasya in our case, and l'chayra tlev and nasa. The Rosh makes a chiluk of Ivda min ha'olam versus Yeshnan ba'olam. We saw the definition of the reference Yeshnan ba'olam before by the Vlad. And now it's Ivda min ha'olam in the case of Rav. So, l'chayra, what's the difference? We said in Rashi, the sushtel, or the comparison between Tavern Shasya, Televinas Ayl, and Gazal Para Muberes, they all have one thing in common. The object is no longer in existence like it was when it was stolen. So therefore, anything that has changed in all those cases, the Gazlan will be koned for. It doesn't matter whether that change is in existence or not, because the object cannot be returned as it was. In this case, the fact that the wine is destroyed, or it's drunk, or it's no longer in existence, the Rush says we're missing the second component to Shiur. There's a physical change, yes, but it's not referenceable. The wine's gone. It's been drunk. It went down the drain. There's no yachas. There's nothing that points back to what it was and said, this is different. It's not there. In such a case, that's the case where you pay at the time that it broke. Versus when it does have a reference, that goes back to the Gazela. So you have to understand a little bit more about that and understand the mechanics of it and why that is according to the Rush. And then we'll finish up the Rush Be'ezer Hashem next week and move back in see Tosos and the Gemara a little bit, and hopefully we'll go weiter from there. Thank you very much and have a good week.